The report said that Davante had no intention of returning. If that's how Davante felt, you're stuck in a hard place, and you got to do what you got to do, because if he's not going to play, he's not going to play.
I think Davante also saw the writing on the wall. Like, man, Rodgers may only have a year or two left. Do I really want to sign long term? And now we move on to another big trade that happened over the week involving my Green Bay Packers. Davante Adams, wide receiver, was traded to the Las Vegas Raiders, which ended up being a first and second round pick for this year. And he also got an extension as a part of that. And it was, 5 years, $140-ish million. 141. So, yeah. I'm going to throw it to you first, John. What were your initial thoughts and, just feedback on this trade?
I was very surprised. I was under the assumption that if Aaron Rodgers was to stay, Davante Adams would stay. I said that when we talked about, his future. You were the right one. You said that even if Aaron Rodgers stays, you think he's going to go regardless. I was surprised by that. I wasn't shocked it was Las Vegas, because we knew about the relationship with him and Derek Carr. And they had really been pushing for him, and it just made sense the way that they needed a true number one. He fits that. And with their division just stacking up talent, it made sense. The price tag, I think, was good for Green Bay. The report said that Davante had no intention of returning. He wasn't going to play in the tag. He wanted to leave. And if that's the case, getting a first and second round pick for a receiver is really good. I can't remember the last time a receiver got traded for like that big of a price tag, if ever. So I thought that was a really good deal for Green Bay. And the receiver position, obviously you can't necessarily, replace Davante Adams' production entirely, but it's one of those positions where it's always super deep in the draft. And so there's going to be guys in the first and second round that you can go out there and get that can, come into the league and make a big difference right away. So, I don't like the trade for Green Bay from the standpoint that I think it sort of knocks them out of potentially being a Super Bowl contender right away, but it depends on how they use those draft picks, and what they're going to do in the next couple months. But I like the return they got, because once again, if that's how Davante felt, you're stuck in a hard place, and you got to do what you got to do, because if he's not going to play, he's not going to play. The interesting part for me was that I assumed that Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have been aware of this, because I thought that if he was going to choose to stay, it would have been under the assumption that Davante was staying too. Apparently he was. He was aware of it the whole time. And so that makes it a little more confusing the last year of the Aaron Rodgers stuff, and thinking that he wanted to leave and all that. But really, I think it sort of clarifies everything, that he still loves Green Bay, still wants to be there. It was just he wanted to be treated right by management. So I think everything has sort of come full circle with the Packers, and now we know the full picture. So like I said, if that's the way that Davante felt, we got a good deal out of it. So
yeah, and I just want to start with this too. As a Packer fan, a lot of people are blaming Rodgers, like he's the reason why Davante left, and we don't know that for sure. But so until it's confirmed, I'm just going to say this. I don't think he was the reason why Davante left. I think Davante also saw the writing on the wall. Like, man, Rodgers may only have a year or two left. Do I really want to sign long term? And I'm not trying to trash Jordan Love, but he's like, I'm not sure Jordan's the guy, and I only got one good contract left in me. And Davante, I think we drafted Davante a year or two after we won our last Super Bowl too. So he's still kind of wanting a ring, and so I think he wanted to be with the contender in Las Vegas. Fit that bill, like you mentioned, and it worked for them too, because Josh McDaniels also, this is his second big coaching gig. Denver didn't work out. This may be his last one, because we saw that he pulled out of the Indy job a couple of years ago. So yeah, I think getting a Davante was necessary for him in his offense. So that, okay, I have Davante, I have Waller, and then Hunter Renfrow is a good slot guy, but I got two guys where I can do a lot of things with them, and I also have Derek Carr. So it's great trade for them, and we've seen with their draft history. I don't think Mike Mayock's there anymore, but still, maybe it made sense. Let's just use the picks on a known commodity than with our prior draft history. But yeah, so I had a feeling too. and especially now that we know what happened, maybe that appreciation post that Aaron put out right, a week or so before he made his decision, where everyone thought that he was going to make a decision the next day. Maybe that's when he found out, and maybe he's like, man, like, well, Davante's going to go. I think you brought up in one of our group chats, he mentioned this is one of the best teammates. He said himself is the best teammate he's ever played with. So maybe that's what it was about. Maybe Aaron was trying to secretly tell us that he knew that Tay was leaving. And I don't mean to mix Aaron Rodgers, but last point too on that is maybe he didn't want to. He saw what happened with Favre and how like it took fans a while to appreciate Favre after he left. So maybe he didn't. That's why he stayed. But in regards to this trade, like I said it to you, and I also said this to my stepdad. I'm okay with the trade. Like you said, it's a good trade. Obviously, as an emotional fan, it sucks. And we'll have to see, like we just mentioned with Houston, we'll see what we do with the picks because you have to go receiver now, right? Like there's no excuse. And the timing of this isn't great either, though, because most of the free agent wide receivers have gone. Like the DJ Charks, I would have loved to have a DJ Chark to maybe at least have some sort of established receiver role. Now our number one guy is, at least as of now on the depth chart, is Alan Lazard. Because even MVS might go as well. So I know there's still, I think, Odell out there, and maybe some other guys we'll mention here in a second. But
there's some veterans like AJ Green and guys like that.
Once again, AJ Green, like we saw last year in Arizona, like he's more, he give you a game or two maybe, but is he really going to be your number one at this point of his career? And I'm not sure about that. So, and also just in regards to, I know we drafted Aaron Rodgers last year, but didn't get on the field much over Randall Cobb, who, as much as I love Randall, wasn't that impressive either. So maybe that says something about how he's not really developing the way we thought he would. So, I think nonetheless, good trade for both sides. Definitely for the Raiders. Obviously, they got the known commodity. They got the better player. And we'll see what Green Bay does with the picks going forward.
I do want to ask you real quick in regards to the Raiders. This trade, obviously, along with the signing of Chandler Jones, has now started to pick up some heat of, do we think the Raiders can be contenders? Because obviously, the Chargers are making major moves. The Broncos got Russell Wilson. We're making major moves. The Chiefs signed Juju, so they're making some moves, and Justin Reed. But do we think that the Raiders are Super Bowl contenders? Do we think that they can compete within their own division? Like, where do we feel like the Raiders are? Because at least from the betting odds, they are the 17th Super Bowl favorite, which means that Vegas actually just views their own team as basically average.
Yeah. Well, Vegas, the house has to be biased at the end of the day. I don't see them as Super Bowl contenders. I do think they can compete within their division. I do think they can be a playoff team. I still have question marks in regard. I think their offense will be fine. They have, I'm all the belief in Josh McDaniels and the weapons they have, as long as Waller stays healthy, because I think he's their main game breaker. Davante is amazing, and they still have Hunter Renfrow. We saw Josh Jacobs kind of be revitalized towards the end of the season. I think the biggest question will be their defense. I know you bring in Chandler Jones, but we have an Arizona fan, and Chandler Jones, I'm not trying to dig on it, but he's just been known to have a couple really good games, like 5-6 sack games, and then you don't really hear from him for the next few weeks in terms of sack numbers and just production. And I know he has Max Crosby, so maybe that will help. But then I look at just the second level. I know they had the guy Diablo, a linebacker that kind of popped up last year, but I'm not sure if he's at the level yet where I would consider him a difference maker. And we'll have to see if the secondary, they've kind of been up and down the past few years, but they've had some really good moments and not great moments. And they did lose Casey Hayward, who's currently a free agent, so they don't really have that veteran experience as of right now, which could be crucial down the line, or just depth. So those are my concerns as to why I don't think they're a Super Bowl team, but I think they'll definitely be at least in the playoff conversation. Heck, they made it last year with a much lesser talented team. So I think that they'll definitely be in that mix.
Out of curiosity, where would you rank them in terms of their own division right now? I personally would put them as the fourth team. I I view the Chiefs and the Chargers as number 1 and 2. I think the Broncos or Raiders can be 3 or 4, but also we don't necessarily know what Russell Wilson and the Broncos are going to look like yet, so it's kind of hard to accurately rate them. And obviously, this division is very unique for anyone listening right now. Like, this is not like the fourth best team in this division could make the playoffs. Like, that's how crazy this division is right now. But where do you rank them in terms of their own division?
I'd probably do the same thing. As of right now, I'd say Chiefs 1, Chargers 2, and then like I just feel a little bit better about the Broncos. Like, no
Same.
offense, I think Russell Wilson's a little bit better than Derek Carr right now.
Yeah.
I think the receivers as a whole, just the whole group, obviously Davante's better than any singular the receiver, but as a whole core, I think it's better to have more diversity in weapons. And their defense, I have a little bit more confidence in, especially the pass defense, which especially now in that division, you're gonna need. So I could easily be wrong. I could easily see the Raiders being second, third. Chargers, who knows? Maybe they don't work out, or maybe the Chiefs fall off this year. And you kind of alluded to that fact that this division is very competitive now. But yeah, I would put them at that 4 for right now /3, but definitely 4.